How was nannying while pregnant at Burning Man in first camp? It was
great.
Yeah.
Loved it. The best.
I wish that I had just felt better. I just kind of there were a lot of hormonal changes, and it was just hard for me to really be present and feel comfortable in my body. I wasn't very far along, but I had sciatica the whole time.
Ooh, yikes.
Yeah, so I was I definitely had some physical issues.
You'd have had a hard time getting out to the temple anyway.
Oh yeah, I did. I do remember going for a ride once or twice during that event, which was splendid. But that was the year that they had the Astro Turf slide, right?
Oh, I loved that thing. It's like the one thing I've never gotten hurt on at Burning Man is that thing.
Yeah, it was that year. So I got to nanny while that thing was open. So I got to take them on that a few times. That was fun.
So cool.
I don't have a lot to say about nannying at Burning Man, but I really want to share.
You took little kids down the wedge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that story.
Yeah. Their mom was there too.
Uh-huh.
Welcome to Accuracy Third. I'm Beth.
I'm Rex.
And I'm D-Day. And this is our first episode back from the long, hard winter of 2023. Welcome to 2024, everyone.
As winters go, this one was all right. It's better than last winter.
Huzzah!
I mean, the same amount of creeping fascism looking to destroy the civil order we've fought for the past most of a century. But, less flooding.
Yes, less personal flooding. Listeners, how was your holiday season?
Did you flood?
Ours was somewhere between fine and pretty good. And that's pretty good. So today on the podcast, we have Tiny Vinyl, a Burning Man volunteer in a couple different ways.
An old school Burning Man.
An old school Seminole volunteer.
Oh, I don't know that she talked at all about the Seminole volunteering. What department is that? Is that Rampart?
I'm just going to let you keep going.
It's clearly Rangers.
Well, we know it's not DPW because
DPW doesn't fuck.
They're a dry department.
But also sticky. Sticky like Tiny Vinyl's fingers.
Wow. Let's leave that in.
It's a good way to come back from the break.
I mean, she does have children, so I assume she touches sticky things.
Children are gross.
And sticky.
Uh-huh.
Not mine.
Drew me a diagram of how to get those foldy blocks back to the block.
Oh, nice.
From the star.
Good job, buddy. He was very excited when we cleaned up his floor of Legos so that we could go through some of his toys and get rid of his little kid toys. The same with his books.
And replace them with more Legos.
Yep. And that evening he was just like, Papa, it is so much easier to walk through my room since we picked up all the Legos. And I was like, yeah, I know, remember that. And the next day, caltrops everywhere.
Yep.
And I pointed out to him that he said that it was nice to be able to walk through his room. And he's like, I could walk through my room fine.
I like how he's colluding with the cats to distribute his caltrops around the house so that no room is safe to walk in barefoot.
That's what he gets for not closing his door.
He has a cat door in his door.
Yeah, but the cats can't flick the Legos out of the cat door nearly as easily as they can flick them all the way down the hallway from his open door. And you can hear them when they do. You can hear them start to get ramped up as tick, 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 tick.
We just got to make sure to pull those springs out from under the couches because they will default to those springs all the time.
Mm-hmm. This has been Springcast, a production of Accuracy Third.
Listeners, our cats are very cute.
And if you would like to hear more about our adorable cats and aspects of our life that we are just not comfortable sharing to the general populace, you can join our Patreon. For $1 a month, you get stuff. I am revamping the Patreon. It should be updated by the time you hear this. If it's not, it will be soon. We're consolidating a bunch of the things that we're doing, and we're adding some new things. One new thing that I thought would be fun to do is we can bless people with playa names. We could just take that responsibility upon ourselves. If you don't have a legitimate playa name for $5 a month as a Patreon subscriber, we could thank you on the podcast, which we should be doing. We should have been doing that all along. We can start doing that now. But we can also, if you request it, give you a playa name. And you can request which of the three of us should give you a playa name. And that's as much input as you get into that playa name.
I feel like you need like a essay on how you burn. Like you can't just assign a playa name.
Yeah, they should have to do some fucking homework.
I mean, yes, maybe not so much an essay, but like definitely like.
You need me to write you a Google form, Beth? I'll make a Google form.
We're going to need a couple of photos.
Which is your favorite principle?
Great.
I was going to ask for 2 truths and a lie.
One of which can be about your favorite principle.
Not necessarily an essay, but we need to know your most embarrassing on playa moment. We won't share it. We won't necessarily use it as the source of your playa name, but it will help us understand the je ne sais quoi of you. It'll help us reach your essence.
And you have to agree to be put in a lottery to also come on the podcast and talk to us, because everything we do is a means of getting listeners to come and talk to us on the podcast.
I feel like you have to list every playa name that didn't stick and why.
Ooh, very good.
All right, so we've got 3 requirements. We need some snaps. We need your embarrassing playa moment.
Oh, and pet pictures, but that's just for me.
And all your failed playa names.
And you can email us that at accuracythird@gmail.com. Accuracythird@gmail.com. That is where we get our emails.
Yeah, you can also find us on Discord. We're on Discord now. I don't know that there's a really efficient way for me to say a Discord link. So
I am actively doing Discords with my new Discord friends. If you email us or look in the show notes of this and potentially every episode moving forward, we will continuously update our fucking Discord link, because that's what you have to do every week.
And it'll be good for that week and that week only.
Yep.
is that really how it is?
Yes.
New link every week?
Yes.
Discord's got a lot of issues.
Wow.
But we can do it.
Hey, how convenient. You can find us on Discord. You know where you can't find us anymore is on X. I'm over it. I'm not even.
We're not Xing. We're not Xing anymore.
I just can't be asked.
Yeah. Not until X becomes Twitter again, which it will.
If you are a listener and you're following us on Twitter and you're like, hey, why aren't you guys on Twitter anymore? Stop listening.
We're partially on Blue Sky and we're entirely on Discord. Discord, the Link a Week platform.
Oh, we're also on Instagram, but I don't update it much. But if you want to see the cats, that's where they are.
There will always be those cats on Instagram.
Beth is doing the cats on Instagram instead of her hobby job.
There will probably be an increase in cats on Discord, too, as more of you use Discord, because right now it's kind of just...
We could have a whole cats channel where everyone can share their cats. And then Beth will be on the Discord.
That it would get me there.
If you're a patron, you can have an I'm a patron badge on Discord. It has badges like that.
Oh, yeah. You can't have a persistent link, but you can have a badge.
Yep. And if you have come on the podcast before and been one of our guests, you can have a badge for that. There's a badge for a lot of things. If you send us pictures of your pets, you can have a pet buddy badge. I don't give a shit. Tell us what badges you want.
I would like to see pictures of your pets, though.
See?
That it does make my day.
It'll be like hanging out with Beth in real life, but online, where you just talk about pets.
If you shat yourself on Playa, just say so, and we'll give you an I shat myself on Playa badge.
Uh-huh.
It will be the highest honor on Discord.
Great. Pretty good first time to Burning Man story, huh?
I mean, it's going to be hard to top.
Most of Tiny Vinyl's stories are great, whether about Burning Man or not. Like, that human being opens her mouth, and I'm just like, how many fucking lives have you actually lived?
More than it doesn't.
Yeah.
I haven't hit the bottom of it yet. And because of that, Tiny Vinyl is totally coming back, because she shared, like, a couple of the stories that I had heard previously, a bunch that I hadn't. Like 2 days after she got out of the studio, she was just like, oh, and I should have told you about this. And there's this crazy fucking thing that happened out there.
I mean, maybe if we didn't accidentally hotbox her so hard she had to leave
She came back.
She did.
If you have allergies or breathing problems or just don't want to be hotboxed in a 10-foot by 12-foot room by 3 semi-professional dope smokers, let us know before the interview. And we will be much more considerate.
We'll leave the doors open.
They're big barn doors. We can get good airflow in here.
Absolutely, if we leave them open.
Uh-huh. We can also just, not hit the pipe for a couple hours sometimes.
I think that's when you got us that St. Ides blunt. Though, and if you get that, it's our responsibility to smoke it.
That was that huge, ridiculous joint.
Yeah, I ain't just listen to that hip hop for a clout, Rex. I'm also deep in that life.
To be fair, I didn't bring that giant-ass St. Ides blunt home expecting to smoke it and record.
But we did, and we did a good job.
Yeah,
we did.
Well, we had a great guest.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Speaking of our great guest, at some point we discuss with Tiny Vinyl the one-armed man on the ranch situation, which we have touched upon before. Big thanks to Front Tug on the Discord, I call him. He searched out what episode and what timestamp we discussed the one-armed man situation with Zeno.
I could have told you the episode. It's they're not going to like you at the gold mine.
It is season 1, episode 7, and timestamp is 28 minutes and 55 seconds is when Zeno starts going into that story.
Horrifying.
Horrifying. Which brings us to the content warnings. Rex, if you could do the sounds.
Content warning. Content warning. Content warning.
Content warning for death and dying and suicide and the temple and 9/11s. So you should know that ahead of time. It's a really fun conversation going to some dark places. That's what I'll say about it. Welcome to season 7 of Accuracy Third.
I was in sign shop, weeding the vinyl, and I said, I've got Tiny Vinyl on me. And so Tiny Vinyl was the name that that I got in sign shop.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's solid on the radio.
Yeah.
Tiny Vinyl.
Yeah. Tiny Vinyl is good.
Tiny Vinyl it is.
That's great.
So, Small Records. How did you get to sign shop?
So I joined DPW in 2006, having been invited by the previous volunteer coordinator, whom I met when we lived on Maui. He lived on the same property as my then boyfriend at the time. Christmas morning, I went to Devin's house. I went to my boyfriend's house and went over to meet his neighbor. And first thing that Mayfield says to me when I walk up is, "Oh, I hear that, you've been out to the playa a whole bunch. You've worked on the temple. You're going to join DPW, right?" And
that's how they get you.
That's why they're such a successful recruiter. They just assume the sale.
Yeah. And honestly, I was excited about the idea because I do like to build and I like to work. And his family was really engaging. They had a toddler at the time. They're all red-haired. They all have red hair, and they're super fun.
Devils.
Yes. Later that day, just incidentally, I had Christmas dinner with Alice Cooper.
Wow. Okay. Yep. Humble brag.
Yeah, just a humble brag. Yeah, so it was just kind of a weird day. It wasn't an intended thing. I didn't know that I was going to end the day that way.
That right there is some just Hawaii shit.
Yeah, no, it was definitely just Hawaii shit. It just ended up there at Shep Gordon's house. Alice had a tree that was flocked in black.
Very metal.
Yeah. But really the part that excited me most about that day was getting to meet this family whom I really liked immediately. And, I did go out and do DPW in 2006. So that's how I got out there in the first place. And as far as sign shop, I did do restoration, some in the pre-event. I just shifted around from crew to crew. And eventually in 2007, I got to just hop on board with sign shop for a week or two because they take forever. It takes forever to make so many signs.
It's a lot of signs.
So many signs.
They've been expanding the number that they make. Mm-hmm. It's a wild amount of work.
Yeah. Oh, it's a tremendous amount of work. Yeah.
This year, they invited people to use some of the stencils that they use to paint the signs to make their own signs in an attempt to get less theft. Like, hey, you want one of these signs? Come on over. We have all of the makings for you to make a sign. I don't know how successful or not successful it was.
Yeah, you make something that's, more or less guaranteed to be stolen. Yeah, it just takes a lot of time. There's so many steps to it and so many different processes that go into it, from cutting various things and the trimming of the weeding of the vinyl.
You said that before. What does weeding of vinyl mean?
So the vinyl sheet is just one large sheet, and it's been printed so that it's, cut out.
The signs are made out of vinyl?
They're metal signs.
Metal signs.
They're metal signs that have vinyl stickers, essentially. So the job of the sign shop is to create the images and to place them, and then to very laboriously peel away all of the parts that are not meant to be on the sign. So that part is the part that really takes the most time. It's not placing the letters themselves. It's removing all of the negative space.
Oh,
and you get at the junctions of two lines, there are often little bits of tiny vinyl.
Little bits of tiny vinyl. Yep.
So a lot of what you're doing is removing vinyl.
Yes.
Had no idea.
Yeah.
Like a sculptor, removing everything that is not the sign.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Or like a child with a balsa wood airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So long before you got into sign shop, you were doing Burning Man.
Yeah, that's true.
How did we catch you in the first place?
Well, I grew up in Petaluma, so I was familiar with David Best. I knew him from the time I was working my first job when I was a senior in high school. He would come into the cafe every day. He had an account.
He had a tab?
He had a tab.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love a cafe with a tab.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was an awesome cafe. It's still in business. It's been around for 35 years or something. Anyway, he would come in, and I was terrified of him. He was just this tiny little intense man, just really bright blue eyes. I was 17 years old, didn't really know how to talk to grownups yet. But I was interested in him, and in particular, he had a close friendship with a gentleman that made bikes named Bruce Gordon. Anyway, they would come in all the time. That's how I was first introduced to David. I didn't really know anything about his art until 2000. He was going to make a little structure that was going to be on the Esplanade. And some folks on his crew were people that I knew. One of them was a man named Michael, who was the roommate of one of my best friends at the time. And Michael died in a motorcycle accident just shortly before he was supposed to go out to do the work on the build. So that changed the timber of the piece. It became instead of just a structure, it became a place where people were mourning. Certainly there were people on the crew who were mourning. I wasn't there that year, but there was a lot of grief amongst the people that I was close with. When David returned, when everybody returned after that event, I started gaining more interest in Burning Man. At that point, I had only heard rumors about it, and it was
It was pretty obscure in 2000.
Well, I grew up in the North Bay, and everybody went to Burning Man. And
nudists up there, Rex. You wouldn't know anything about it.
No, I'm never up in the North Bay with my clothes off.
Make a note.
In my, my early 20s and trying to decipher what was actually cool versus what was, just what people thought was cool. I was I don't know. I think maybe people just think it's cool.
People think a lot of things are cool.
Yeah, it's true. And I love that about people. And I've definitely, embraced those new ideas. We can skip forward another year. So it was 2001, and I heard that David was working on another structure. Obviously, a lot of the same people were involved. A lot of them were people that I was close with and loved. And so I decided to show up and start working, and I was invited to be on the crew. It was a really interesting experience. The first thing that David had me do was to dust lamps. They were just some metal lamps hundreds of metal lamps.
That's some Mr. Miyagi shit right there.
Yeah. And so that was my first task, was to, just go and dust these lamps that, were obviously immediately going to be dusty again as soon as they went back in the box. And that was fine, and eventually I got to do more work, which I really like. The more different sorts of work that I can participate in, just the happier I tend to be. So I went out that first year. Somehow, one of the gentlemen on the crew invited me to ride in his plane to Burning Man.
Oh,
first time.
Wow.
My first time.
How old were you?
I was 21.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, he was gentlemanly. It was definitely not like, it didn't feel like there was no exchange.
Wasn't predatory.
It was just a nice man being like, I'll fly you to Playa.
I mean, yeah, if he wasn't gentlemanly, the story would be very different. But as it is, he was just a really nice guy. He was a grandpa, and not that says everything, but he was, just a sweet, mild person who liked to make stuff. And yeah, so we flew in. We had radio. We were supposed to be communicating with our crew, and of course, nobody could respond to us.
Because they were on little walkies.
Because, everybody, whatever. We all had our little radios. Yeah, so we kind of circled a couple times. There were not very many people there. This was Monday of the event. And I would be surprised if there were maybe like 12,000 people at that time.
Yeah. This was back in the day when Weekend Warriors was a real thing.
Yeah.
And almost nothing was completed until like Thursday.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
The event was really only like 4 days.
Yeah. Yep. So, we land, we walk up to the, to the airport, and I'm like, hey, my ticket is at will call, which it was. And, and they said, okay, well, great. You can go to will call and then you can bring us the ticket. Okay. And I was like, sure, no problem. Meanwhile, we're still waiting for this ride. And eventually we decide to just start walking. So we walk from the airport to 10 o'clock in Esplanade, which is the opposite.
That is not will call.
No.
In fact, at that point, you were in the event. You didn't need a ticket.
Well, this is true. However, if I give somebody my word, I feel like I have to do the thing, right? So I actually walked back from 10 o'clock in Esplanade up to will call and got my ticket and then walked out to the airport. And of course, it was not the same person.
No recollection.
You want to show me what? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Oh, you have a ticket. That's cool. Virgin.
So I guess I've made a note. What are you doing tonight?
What's that?
What?
I was being the guy.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Sorry, doing a bit. Please continue.
See, I can't see your face because it's covered by a mic.
Oh yeah. It's all a bit. It's all a bit like it's always all a bit. Just assume it's a bit. We're holding hands.
Yeah.
I'll squeeze your hand when it's a bit.
Okay. Oh, that's delightful.
Wow.
I love that.
Oh, you guys are holding hands too. That's
Yeah.
cute.
Aw.
It's all very cute. It's all very cute in the shed this Saturday Eve.
Yeah. So that was the first time I arrived there. The night of the burn, it was postponed. The night of the temple burn, I should say. It was postponed for quite a bit. Oh, at some point, I should tell you about Trigger.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So when I was a child, I would drive past this house downtown that had a horse in the window. The horse was like very well lit. It looked like a real horse.
Full-sized.
Full-sized.
Like a taxidermied horse.
Like a taxidermied horse. So as it turns out, David liked to tell people that this was Trigger.
Like from the TV.
Like from the TV. Anyway, Trigger was brought this year. It's apocrypha as to whether or not that was actually Tigger. I'm pretty sure it was not. But
But the horse from the window
The horse from the window
was on Playa this year.
Yeah, so I used to drive past David's house and, like marvel at his house and think, like what a weird family. I'm, in a very admiring way.
What a large living room they must have.
Yeah, what a large living room and a large window. Yeah, so Trigger was there. And David, the night of the burn, decided that he was going to burn Trigger in one of the sheds leading up to the temple.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or at least that's what he said. So he told everybody, we're going to burn Trigger tonight. Whether that was actually the case, looking back, that was more than 20 years ago. I don't think that he actually burned Trigger, but it was definitely, something that people were really questioning. And there was a delay the night of the temple burn, and we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it. There was a dust storm. Everybody was covered in dust and just no visibility. But then we were given a window to go ahead and do it. And I was working the perimeter at the rear, at the backside of the temple. Yeah. And when it went up, the flames shot straight out the back. So essentially, like directly toward me. And I was like 450 feet away, but it got pretty hot.
It's hot.
It's so hot inside the perimeter.
Yeah.
It's bananas.
Yeah. And so that was my first going to Burning Man.
Wild.
Not an unusual first Burning Man story. You just worked on the first deliberate temple.
Yeah, we've heard this so many times, actually. This is like free.
Yeah, so that's how I did that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I loved those first Dave Best temples so much.
Yeah. So during the event, leading up to, obviously, the burn, it was a time when, because it was so new and like people just didn't know how to deal with the temple, I think that the first couple of years, really there was a lot of intensity of emotion in the temple that I think you still get.
Oh, yeah.
But it was different. It was a little different, not any more valid or anything like that, but just people had questions about what this was. And so it was a constant this is what this is for, and this is why we do this, and, reopening wounds. And so it was basically just a lot of, aside from the building, it was a lot of just nurturing people in grief. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I had a lot of experience with already at that point. Like I just experienced a lot of loss in my life, but I really appreciated the commemorating people through art and bringing community together and letting people grieve together. That really felt very vital to me. So that, I guess, is kind of why I wanted to go back. Mm-hmm. And then after our return that year, it was a couple days later was the 9/11 attack.
Yeah.
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 That's a bummer.
So there was an even bigger layer of intensity to the grief. So of course I had to go back the next year. The experiences that I've had working that, especially, I think they've really I think that the path was already there, but it kind of helped to define my path toward, being somebody who wants to just help people mourn.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that because you are professionally in the grieving arts.
Yeah, my intention for quite some time has been to be an art therapist and to work with hospice patients and grieving families. I don't have the education for that, but one thing that I can do and that feels very fulfilling to me is working in a funeral home and helping people while they are grieving and just, being there to witness people and to serve them.
Do you feel like that intention preceded and was intensified by your experience in the temple, or did it crystallize? Honestly,
I think that it was preceded. My experience growing up, I lost 2 grandparents by the time I was 3. And then my best friend lost her baby sister when I was in kindergarten. My brother lost his best friend when he was in the 1st grade. And it just kind of these were not things that that I didn't understand. I understood death. I didn't understand putting something that was living into the ground. My Uncle Pete, we had a dog. My grandma had a dog named Casey. Casey was rad, loved Casey. But I came home to my grandma's house after school one day, and my Uncle Pete's like, I got to tell you something. Oop, there's my name. My uncle was like, Tiny Vinyl, I have to tell you something. And I was like, yeah, what's going on? Where's Casey? And he's like, points to my grandma's backyard. Well, Casey's right there. And I was like, I don't see him. And he's like, well, that's because he's sleeping in the ground. And I was like, you got to dig him out. He can't breathe under there. And Pete was like, well, he's sleeping. And I was like, do you mean he's dead?
Because if he's not dead, this is fucked up.
This is super fucked up. So like, I just didn't understand why he hesitated to tell me that the dog was dead. It seemed so much more effort to just say like all of these euphemisms, right? I'm a pretty literal thinker. Yeah. By the time I was 5, 6, 7 years old, I had a pretty good grasp on like the permanence of death, and also I didn't really have a great deal of fear around it the way that a lot of people do. And I think that as I moved through my teen years, I had a very dear friend who died by suicide in a very dramatic way. I remember thinking at the time that I didn't want to live my life in a way that made me regret not having said the kind thing that is in my heart to the people around me, or to, just share with people how much they mean to me. I do still miss my dear friend and wish that I'd said, I love you the last time we hugged, which was the first time in a long time. So, the specter of death has always been on my mind. It's never not been a reality for me. And I feel like there's just so many people who don't know how to grieve or don't know how to support people who are grieving. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a thing that I feel, given my background, and I feel like that's a thing that I'm naturally like just drawn toward and really feel is my place in this world.
It's a good calling.
And that temple volunteering then is just like pure serendipity.
Yeah.
How many did you end up working on?
I did 2 where I was like fully on the crew, and then a couple where I was, like coming out and not necessarily like working with the crew the entire time, but definitely doing some work and participating with the crew to a fair degree.
Featured guest star.
There were a lot of other people that I would call guest stars.
Mm-hmm. You're humble.
I mean, I'm realistic, I think.
Do you have a favorite piece of art that you've run into, or a really impactful piece of art that you've run into out there?
I think those might be 2 different questions.
Yeah, that is fair. They're very different questions.
Honestly, one of my favorite pieces out there was in 2002. I was walking along on the Esplanade toward the end of the event. There was this like box frame that had lasers that you could play like a harp, which I thought was super cool. But next to that, I was like listening to the harp, and then suddenly, because I hear everything, I heard a flag, and I looked around and was like, where is this flag? And then finally like looked at the ground, and there was like a little toothpick flag like waving around. And somebody had like put out maybe like a 4x4 display of like a little city that they had made, a little Burning Man city, and and just on a piece of plywood and some Legos and some other stuff. It was so cute, and it just, I don't know, that moment for me, remembering that little things can bring us just as much joy as the great big things.
It is often moments of attention to detail on very tiny things at Burning Man that just floor me.
Yeah. And I would say, for the most impactful, my first year of Burning Man, actually maybe the second year, the 2002, the temple that is my favorite.
That temple created such great space. I loved the shape of the vaulted entry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever been injured out there?
Oh, probably. I can't think of any like major injuries.
Or had to deal with anyone else's major injury.
There was a time when one of the folks in DPW got stabbed in the arm at the bar because they were playing a game with someone else. And I like to hang out with the medic sometimes, and my medic friend had to take her to Reno to get stitched up.
Oof.
Yep.
For funsy stabbing?
Just for funsies, as far as I could tell.
You know, a good old-fashioned game of stabby.
There used to be a slightly stronger carny vibe around the ghetto and the saloon.
Yeah, we were definitely carnies.
Slightly.
Yeah. Oh, no, I would say definitely. I arrived in the year that Logan decided, well, not Logan necessarily, but the call was to have a kinder, gentler DPW.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. DPW 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my entry. There were a lot of other women who still work for Burning Man that appeared at the same time as me. I was on shifts with, on crews with a lot of people who ended up, staying on for a very long time and even doing managerial, taking leads on crews and whatnot. So I'm glad that it was a kinder, gentler DPW because I understand that there was a time when there were not very many women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was definitely the case in early DPW.
Mm-hmm.
Is it correct that you were there when the one-armed man was around?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was not there when that happened, but I did arrive shortly after. Okay, so you all know about the one-armed man. This is a different perspective. And it's not necessarily my story to tell. This was, somebody that I camped with, somebody that I became friends with shortly after this happened, but he was friends with my best friend prior to this happening. And I got to hear it from him as it was still very fresh for him. So the one-armed man, that was 2004. There was a gentleman who was working DPW. His name was Steve. And they were out at the ranch, and this one-armed man showed up. Everyone got kind of, skeeved out by this person, but they didn't really, have a policy at that time that, if you're not with DPW, if you're not, on an approved crew, then you can't be here.
It was much easier to just slip into DPW in those days.
It's why you need a policy. I hate to say it.
It's how my man Turkey Neck got his hoodie. Just sort of insinuated himself into DPW.
Yeah. So this guy shows up at the ranch, and everyone's kind of like, I don't know about that guy. He's kind of, there was nothing that he said or did that necessarily was enough of an alarm to kick him off of the ranch. But it was enough of an alarm where they asked Steve to stay up with him to just make sure that he was okay. The fire went low. Everybody else went off to bed. And Steve was sitting there talking with this guy who said that he had just stabbed a man and left his body in the desert by one of the worm ponds, And so Steve, couldn't radio anybody for a few reasons, but couldn't get anybody's attention because of the nature of this. He was just talking with the guy, trying to, just listen to him and be a support, So
That sounds tough. Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's always the right time for active listening.
Yes. Essentially he was waiting for his time. He was waiting for his time to be able to sneak off. Eventually the guy went off to the bathroom, and Steve managed to sneak and tell somebody what had happened and then get back to where he was before the guy came back from the bathroom. And so he was just talking with this guy, knowing there was an entrance, the people were coming to take care of this guy. But he just had to pretend like he did not signal to anybody or anything like that and just pretend like it was totally normal. Everything was completely fine. But it was not completely fine, as obviously we know from the fact that this person was found murdered exactly where this guy had said that he would be. And that's how that story goes.
Oof. God, that's tense.
Sometimes real things happen.
So it's good to know who you're around a burn barrel with.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Never forget that we are partying in the Old West.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
One ought to be welcoming, but community ought to extend only so far.
Yeah.
Build a wall. Build a...
You.
So I keep trying to bring my far right-wing views onto the podcast.
You have one far right-wing view, and it's really dissonant.
The Daily Wire will take notice one of these days. I'm going to get me a TV show.
So do you really support a wall?
Climbing walls are all right, but I don't truck with them. I mean, walls are nice. They keep heat in, but property is theft.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
I'm just kind of waiting for D-Day to cut loose because he's being very subdued. It's kind of cute.
Aw.
I want to hear what's going on. I'm being open and present. I'm able to pay attention much better to the person who's talking in the room when they're my girlfriend. Yeah, nothing to all of our other guests, but I'm giving you 25% attention at best.
Well, that's very sweet.
Thank you. What's the longest stretch you've done out there?
The longest that I was ever working with or associated with the event was 6 months, 7 months. I was there from April until October, November. And I was on Sign Shop that year. As has been mentioned, Sign Shop takes a really long time.
Big job.
It is such a big job. We used to Sawzall to cut orange tubes to go around the rebar. We called them noodles. That year was 2008, 2009.
The noodles are the thing that you write the street intersection on when people steal the signs?
Yeah.
The actual streets.
Thank God for the noodles.
Thank God for the noodles, yes. Yeah, noodles are your friend. Let's see, what year was that? In 2008? No, 2009. No. Oh, good Lord. 2007, actually. I wasn't on Sign Shop yet. I did come out and do Sign Shop later. That was in 2009 when I was out there from June until October. Kind of the same endless every day is kind of,
Every day is another day on the ranch.
Every day is another day on the ranch. But in 2007, I just decided to move to Gerlach. I don't know. I have lived in a lot of different places. I was on Maui when I met the friends who invited me to do DPW. So it was easy for me to go, sure, I know people there. I can go do that.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I didn't really feel like I wanted to be in the Bay Area for a while for various reasons. I felt like I just wanted to be somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And Gerlach is comforting to me, which
it's very predictable.
It is very predictable and, dry. And also I was like the only single lady of a certain age, which was not something that I
used while you were there.
No. I spent a lot of time with my friends in their garden, listening to the trains. I did a lot of jogging with dogs and riding around in trucks with dogs.
Living that Nevada lifestyle. I do have a story to share with you, which is quite funny. So most of you know that the trailer park in Gerlach is owned by Bruno and Burning Man rents it. I don't know, maybe it's different now. I know Bruno is, of course, no longer with us. He certainly doesn't own a trailer park from beyond the grave.
So, at the time, 2007, there were no DPW trailers in the trailer park, but there were definitely DPW people living in trailers in the trailer park, one of which was Gil. Gil was, a lot of different people. And I didn't really realize that. Yeah, I didn't really realize that until I moved out there in April. And it was definitely a little chaotic. I thought that I was welcomed, but there was somebody else living there who wasn't keen on me having just randomly moved in. That was a theme that I would continue to see. So one morning, it's a Saturday morning, Gil had said, I'm going to go down to Las Vegas or someplace. I am hosting a garage sale tomorrow. Do you think that you could just keep an eye on things? And I don't understand how somebody could have a garage sale and then simply not be there.
Right?
Yeah, what do you mean? Are you going to tell me how much all of this stuff you want it sold for? What do you mean?
That is the premise for an episode of a Kevin James sitcom.
Yeah.
Where you have to watch someone else's house while neighborhood kids run roughshod over the house and sell the stove or something.
So I walked out of my room, walked into the living room, and everything was bare. All of the All of the posters had been removed. All of the utensils had been taken out of the drawers. My knife with my name on it, like my name engraved, was not in the kitchen anymore. All sorts of stuff. It should be noted there were lamps, there were end tables, all of these things that were in the yard, right? And, stuff's blowing around. Clothes are just loose. They're not like on hangers or anything like that. It's just blowing around.
In the Nevada desert in Gerlach.
So everything's dusty. Everything's really filthy. I have no idea what Gil intends to do with this money. And I certainly didn't know, because I knew that some of my stuff was out there. I didn't think that most of it actually belonged to Gil. So this made me feel this made me feel, pretty squicky about
Selling it to strangers.
About selling it to strangers, right?
Yeah.
And there definitely were some folks who came by who were like, hey, this thing belongs to me. I'd like to have that back. And no, I'm not paying for it. I'm like, fair enough. Here you go.
But can I put the lamp back in my place, though?
But my friend Mike was there as well. And about noon, Bruno rolls up in a truck with one of his guys. And he rolls down the window and he goes, hey, what are you guys doing here? You having a garage sale? And Mike and I were like, oh, yeah, we're having a garage sale, I guess. So we go hide. Actually, we went to hide when we saw Bruno arrive again later because we did not know what was going on. And
You thought he was going to come tax you for your public selling license?
Yeah, we thought that he was going to come put the law down because we were doing something that we shouldn't have been doing, which was not our thing in the first place. So we're hiding in the middle room of this trailer and Bruno's knocking on the windows. Hey, are you in there? Hey, I saw you go in.
Oh, God.
This is a genuine trailer park story.
So eventually my friend Mike goes out and then Bruno goes, how much is all this stuff? I'm going to send a guy by to round it up. These were Bruno's lamps. These were Bruno's end tables. These were Bruno's things that he was buying. And he said, they'll look great in one of my trailers.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
We could all move to
Sell somebody
Gerlach
their own
is the
stuff.
thing. We could have some country shenanigans.
You could or you could not
Yeah.
move to Gerlach.
I don't know. It's really special. I'm not recommending it to anybody. But for myself, I really did genuinely just like the isolation and I like it out there.
If it's for you, you know it.
Yeah.
I'd probably be fine for a while.
I was not fine.
Yep. It's a long trek to Reno. Like, you want to go see a movie, you also have to go pick up all the groceries you need for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And whatever else.
Yeah, I don't mind a 2-hour drive to get groceries, but
I've never forgotten onions when I've gotten home from the store.
Oh, God. Just the horror of this basic ingredient that I can't get at the Empire store.
Oh, come on. You can go there and buy their onion.
their one onion next to their pepper.
Yeah. Tons of fireworks, though. Fireworks for days.
They also will have a whole bunch of glow sticks way after season. So, you'll come through there to go work out at the ranch, and it'll be like a bunch of wild vodkas and glow sticks, and then basic Oreos and ramen.
Like maybe a week old Lunchables that expired a week ago.
Oh, yeah. Their fridges don't seem like hardcore dairy fridges.
They are not.
They're like, my beers are not hot fridges.
Yeah.
Not very hot.
So how long did you live out there?
About 7 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you left, it was in which direction?
That's a very good question. I went, I assume, back to the Bay Area. I don't remember going anywhere else after that. Back to Petaluma.
So downhill.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. It was time. I felt, started to snow and I wouldn't have minded, but I didn't really have work. The work that I had been doing prior to the event was like landscaping, which you can't do a ton of in Gerlach during the winter.
I mean, you could put stones in patterns.
Yeah.
Do you have a moment of like deep serendipity, like some sort of meeting out there that you weren't expecting or that was handing you just what you needed right in the right moment or anything like that?
I think for me, one of like the magical moments for me was when I came across that little tiny city. I went back to look for it the next day and it was not there. But I still hear the little flag and the curiosity, like what happened? Like, where is that coming from? And how on earth could I hear a tiny little flag? Because there's so much else going on out there. And yet that was the thing that I picked up and it really drew my attention. That like reminder, you know, that it's details that really can make some things feel special.
Someone stole that project and put it in their box truck with like 3 street signs.
I think it was I'm pretty sure that it was either a traveling piece or, you know, just not something that was sanctioned. It didn't have a marker or anything.
Good.
Yeah.
I saw a flea circus out there once.
Oh,
I think I've seen a guy out there who said he had a flea circus, but I've never seen a flea circus. You can't see fleas.
A flea circus is a contraption.
What?
It's a little set for fleas to do circus on.
Because you can't see the fleas, the apparatus move on
It's a
their own.
mechanical flea turk?
Yes.
Wild.
Yeah, the real good ones will have like synchronized trapezes.
Uh-huh.
that
Oh, cool.
You can kind of like imagine that you see the flea.
The things you learn from sitting across a microphone with Rex. It's amazing.
I think that one of the like just warmest friendships that I ever developed was waiting in line for Rock'em Sock'em in 2004. Did you guys see the Rock'em Sock'em set?
Before my time.
It's before your time. They were life-size Rock'em Sock'em.
That
So you had
sounds
to
fucking rad.
you had to, it was pushed forward by one person and the other person, you know, did the arms. And I am making arm movements so that our listeners can see.
Left, right, left, right.
Yeah, it was awesome. The person that was standing next to me, I just, for some reason, I'm not somebody who likes to initiate conversation usually, you know, but for some reason I just started talking to him and we ended up becoming really like good friends.
Over time or just as you were waiting in that line?
Like as we were waiting in line.
Yeah.
So he got to be the, you know, the person that pushed me in my Rock'em Sock'em. And it was definitely rigged because only one color was winning and it was not our color.
Aw. You got in the loser line.
We got in the loser line. But it was so much fun. And we kept in touch for years.
Aw.
Yeah, it was really good. Just that somebody that I had never met before and then got to share pieces of my life with for a long time.
That's great. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to you in commissary.
There was, okay.
If you've got a story, you've got a story. This is
don't
great.
say
This
the
is the
X.
first time I've come up with this. I'm asking this a lot now.
Okay. So in 2006, my first year with DPW, my first year doing commissary, it was the night of early burn. And our crew was assembled and told, you know, even though we have a party tonight, tomorrow everybody has to be like bright and early. We've got to push through this work. I was like, great, let's do it. But I went to early burn and then I returned home from early burn like vomiting everywhere.
Oof.
Yeah, I made it to my tent somehow where I stayed for like 3 days. You know, the medics would come and visit. I knew one other person, a friend that I was hanging out with that night, who she vomited before me. She was patient zero.
No.
She had the same experience, and it ended up being something like 65 people were infected.
You were part of the monkeypox outbreak?
I was not patient zero, but I was sure close.
Oh.
What happened?
What a legend we have in studio.
Yeah.
Tiny Vinyl was there all the time.
You probably didn't even know. Yeah, it was the salad. They traced it back to the salad eventually, just not handling the greens well, because that's what we were eating. I was like, oh, salad. I love salad. Like every meal.
Oh, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
God, you know, I didn't even think about that. Like, all volunteers are excited about the salad, but salad is like the number one cause of foodborne
You gotta
illness.
wash your hands after you touch your ass. That's a rule for working in kitchens.
And also before you touch food.
It's not even the workers. That shit comes contaminated from the fields.
It does.
They're watering a lot of that shit with
Shit.
cattle runoff.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like, I will blame the whole supply chain. It wasn't me. It was of the servile class.
I did not need to wash my lettuce between my fork and my mouth.
Great.
So anyway, I was not hungover the next morning. I was just really sick.
Still dehydrated, though.
Can't put on my permanent record that I got hungover early, bro.
I got trashed, but not in that way.
No, it was not in that way at all. Yeah, so that was the worst thing that ever happened to me at commissary. There was also pink chicken, but you just don't eat the pink chicken, I guess. Standards are different in different years.
The food is safe now from Spectrum. I'll give them that.
Or so we're told.
Yeah, or so we're told. I mean, I have no complaints as to how cooked it is, or I haven't heard that anyone's gotten food poisoning from them. But I will not abide chicken nuggets in the shape of goddamn dinosaurs and letters. That is a fucking step too far, guys.
I would be with it for chicken nuggets. I cannot stand the smiley
The smiley face potatoes are
those are just horrendous in every single way. You can patronize me if it's a fine little awful chicken tender, I can eat it. But what I can't deal with is the soggiest, mushiest smiley face cutout of
If you're gonna give us soup, give us soup. We're not fucking children. We don't need alphabet soup. You want to put noodles in your tomato soup? Fine.
I
We're grown-ups.
I don't need food that never had a face in the first place to have a face when I eat it.
Can you describe this to me? Because I've not seen these. Are these
It's like
It's like a tater
fucking
tot.
bad.
It's like a shitty, soggy tater tot stamped in the shape of a smiley face.
like this big, but then the eyes and the mouth are cut out of it.
Oh, nice.
But that means
But there's
that none
no
of it can get
texture in the
crisp.
potato. It's so fucking bad. It's
wet.
Wait, I'm bringing this up. Face potato disc.
Did it get it?
No. It's mail a face potato. Apparently, there's a service online where you can mail a potato to someone with their face on it. Here, they look like this. They're fucking.
Oh, no, those are horrible.
Yeah, and they taste bad too.
Oh, God.
And they're bland while also being too salty and having a really weird skin on top of them. It's so fucking. They're the worst croquettes you can imagine.
Croquettes.
God, and that they're
sad taters.
There's not enough resolution to say that they're smirking at you, but you can see that they're all smirking at you. You gonna eat me?
They came out this year after the rains, and it was just like defeat after defeat.
I fucking marched here through the mud
to look at.
to have to shit at the porta potties at commissary because people keep telling me I'm not allowed to shit at the ones 20 feet from where I work. So fine. So I go there to get something to eat and you give me
fucking
food from the kids menu.
Those are definitely emergency backup taters. Those
Those
were never meant to see the light of day.
I get that their supply chain wasn't bringing them fresh food, but that you can't.
Sad bananas.
Fellas, open up the oh no box.
Every time we went down there at some point while I'm getting my food, Beth would do a drive-by to be like, there's no cottage cheese. There's no pickles, it's just olives.
There were some hard days.
And that was Tiny Vinyl.
The tiniest, vinyliest.
Something I really liked finding out in this episode was the anti-sign stealing technique of inviting people to come and make signs with us. So you could just make a replica sign and take it home without stealing our necessary infrastructure shit.
Yeah.
So everyone should go do that.
Yeah, everybody volunteer for Sign Shop. Go hang out with Dark Sparkle. Dark Sparkle, who owes us a podcast.
It's exciting for the season to be starting up again. Both
Is it?
seasons, the Burning Man seasons
Oh, I'm so ready.
and the R seasons.
Yeah, I totally understand why you, a listener who wants to go to Burning Man, really wants to be thinking a lot about Burning Man. It is January, after all.
It is. It's the start of a new year and the start of a new Curiouser and Curiouser.
I'm going to make some new shorts for the burn this year. What are you guys planning for the burn? Maybe I'm going to get a new tent.
I'm going to try to have a good time.
Cool. Rex?
I couldn't even tell you what my burn is going to be like. I've got a lot of irons in the fire. I don't know which one I'll be holding away from my body, screaming and running, looking for something deep and wet to dunk into so I don't light the entire city up. I lost the train of this metaphor.
But
fair.
still, good. Like, the intention is there. The intention is valid.
This past season was just so all-encompassing of like how incredibly difficult it was for me personally, emotionally, physically, psychically. And really what I want for next year is for it to be like nice. Just be fun. I would like it to be fun. I'm excited about it being fun. That's what I'm planning on.
I'm going to kill it.
I'm going to get more candy. I'm bringing out more candy next year.
If you could bring me out like the candy corn, that'd be great.
Sure.
Candy corn, really?
Yeah, some of those like softball sized like
Globs of candy.
no, the popcorn balls. I want like a lot of autumn.
You want the stickiest of the candy.
Yeah. I want
Cotton
candy
candy?
apples. Candy apples. How else are you going to keep your produce fresh?
So
Candy.
hear me out. I know that this year we're going to ask for some like donations from the people we camp with to help with camp infrastructure. But isn't a cotton candy maker camp infrastructure?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and can also be had for like $25.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Not even like some little like plastic piece of shit on eBay, but
A real one.
on Amazon. But yeah, like a real used carnival one can probably be had for
$150 max.
I was gonna say they'll pay you to take it.
You're thinking of the kettle corn machine. Because like 50 pounds of that weight that you're taking away is lard.
And also, the kettle corn machine also takes 80 amps. Oh, do you know the exciting thing I get to do next year?
What?
So I've been struggling for the past couple of years to get a Burning Man bike that I don't hate. Through emotional differences, it's not really like I could get one, but I just suck at it. And my actual commuter bike, I took it in to get it updated,
And they were like, no.
they were they were like
This is unsafe at any speed.
they were like, hey, we can strip it of all of its parts and replace all of them, but you'd be paying more money than a new bike. And we assume then it's for sentimental value. Do you want this for sentimental value? And I was like, huh.
Because we'll just give it back to you.
Yeah. So I went and bought a bike for less than the parts to fix my old bike. And then I was like, but will you put on brakes? And they're like, why? And I'm like, well, I'm going to take it to Burning Man. And they're like, this is falling apart. And I'm like, I'm going to take it to Burning Man.
Do you know Burning Man?
Yeah. I'm super psyched about having a bike I know.
I don't even really need brakes on it. Don't put brakes on it. But I am taking it to Burning Man.
I do want brakes on it. Actually, brakes at Burning Man are really fucking useful.
A single brake is all I need.
Yeah, you don't need double brakes,
Yeah,
but this
brake
one.
at Burning Man.
It's true. You're almost never going fast enough to need your brakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we barely needed our bikes this year. Well, great. It's a good story.
It's a great story.
Yeah. That's what really hit me going back through
Is
our
that you have
material.
a taste
Just-
in women?
Of course, I have a taste. Women have a taste in me. I think that's clear. No, just I can do this. And now here I am. And what an amazing slice of that little town to get to see.
Yeah. Tiny Vinyl is bold.
Yep.
Tiny Vinyl making moves to tiny towns.
I don't even think that's a town.
It's got a population sign. It's more than a census designated place.
It is a designated place. That is what it is. Gerlach,
It's
a designated place.
It's more of a town than Empire.
Empire is a store and a parking lot. We know Empire is not a town.
Well, Empire doesn't have a downtown.
Empire doesn't have a town.
Empire is the place where it has been the quietest I've ever heard in my entire life. When we were going to pick up your trailer that you stored out there.
Oh, yeah.
And like, we just stopped for a second and there's no traffic sound, no birds or insect sound. It's in the middle of the day, right? So it's heat of the day. So
No wind.
none wind, just silence. And we listened for a good 35 seconds before I'm like, there is a bird in a tree, like 3.5 miles down that way. That is the thing I can hear.
That gypsum is sound baffling.
Empire, creepily absent.
Gypsum is sound baffling and accuracy third is baffling sound.
Accuracy Third is produced by Accuracy Third. This intro and outro, not one of our best, but there's a long season ahead of us.
Oh, you'll
And,
edit it. You'll make it better.
I'll make it better. There's only so much you can do.
What are you talking about? We gave you gold.
The music in this episode hasn't been chosen yet. I certainly don't have any singing of Tiny Vinyls to play drums along to. So it'll be somebody else, and they'll be great. Or it'll be me, and it'll be mediocre. But in any case, they will be attributed in the show notes.
If you would like to be attributed in the show notes, you can share your music with us, and we will put it in this podcast. That would be really cool. Then you'll get less of D-Day drumming along to people singing. Although maybe that's your shtick. We'll see.
If more people come in and sing, I will play more drums along to more people.
We have very high and very low standards.
But what we'd really like is for you to come in and share your stories with us, because that's how this podcast keeps getting made. Hit us up at our email, accuracythird@gmail.com. That's all written out, no numbers in that, just letters, accuracythird. Find us on Blue Sky, I guess, because we're on Blue Sky now, or join our Discord, which you can find links to in the show notes of this, and also on our website, accuracythird.com. And tell your friends. We need more ears. More ears means more people that we can harangue into coming on the show. More people harangued into coming on the show means more episodes for you to enjoy. That's the value offer.
If you would like to watch a little show called Pantheon and come on the show and talk about it with us, it's a really great sci-fi show. You should do that, and we 100% will or won't talk to you about it on the podcast.
Yeah, Pantheon's real good. You should watch Pantheon.
Beth, you got any holiday TV or movie picks? Good night.
Great.
So quick opinion questions and then back to stories. Favorite temple?
I think 2002. In 2002, I like the original pagoda that David had built in 2000 out of these pieces of the jigsaw puzzle blanks, whatever. I think that the technique grew to be more refined.
Was that Temple of Stars?
No, it was Temple of Joy.
Temple of Joy.
But I got to help. I got to go up in a cherry picker and look down and direct the placement of the centerpieces for the front of the temple. So I got to, basically it was a circle with kind of wings coming out of it. And I got to do a few of those different pieces, which was it was fun. It was great to feel like I got to participate on a really meaningful level. And
least favorite temple?
The chess pieces. It's everyone. It's the chess pieces.
You can't. You don't answer.
I don't know what you're talking about because I stopped going to the event in 2014 was the last time that I went.
This one was my first year, 2007, I think. And it was just all of these little sculptures, kind of a sculpture garden.
That was actually created by somebody who had worked on the original temple crew. I cannot remember what his name was, but he was a kind person. I didn't.
I'm not refuting that. I'm challenging its temple-iness.
Yeah, it didn't. It honestly did not really feel.
It really kept me from understanding what the whole temple thing was.
It didn't bring community because it was all very like isolated, you know.
It didn't create space.
Yeah.
That wasn't 2007 though.
Good.
2006 it might have been.
Good.
Yeah, I think it was 2006 because I think 2007 was Basira Sagrada.
Then I've been going since 2006 then.
That was one of my faves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first year.
So thank you actually for reminding me about the little pod temples because I honestly had forgotten about them. Sorry.